Welcome to Politics Done Right on KPFT. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Give me a call at 713-526-5738. That is 713-526-KPFT. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for spending this time with me. Shannon, how are you doing? I so have missed you over the last several weeks.
I am doing, we've all been going through a lot, but it's so good to see you. And it feels like we've all come together, like we've come through something massive together. I feel like we've grown as a city, identity-wise. And I feel so much better now that you're back with us.
Well, it was I tell you what, it was a tough one, from going from Netroots back here one week and then heading out there to Portland for a meeting. It's like, I missed this.
And then you were
studio.
stuck.
And then I was stuck for a whole 5 days.
Because our airports were closed.
They were closed, and you know how stressful that is, watching TV and seeing all the suffering that was going on here in Houston and knowing that you can't do something about it.
That's brutal.
I mean, it was brutal, but you know what? We did it.
I felt so much better that I was able to be here at the studio. It was brutal for me to be, the one day I was stuck away from the studio on Monday.
Right.
I was biting my nails. It was tearing me apart listening to broadcasts I was supposed to be a part of.
I can imagine that, because you should be there. That is what we're supposed to be doing,
And so when I was able to make it here on Tuesday, I felt a lot better.
Absolutely. But as Shannon said, folks, Houston, we are back, and Houston will be back. There are a lot of people going through a whole lot of stuff.
There's nothing that can keep us down.
There's nothing that can keep us down. We have neighbors, great friends that went through some tough stuff, and all we can do is give them positive affirmations and let them know things are going to be okay. And you know what? For those of us who went through this flood almost unscathed, it is our responsibility to open our doors, open our hearts, open everything that we have, because you know what? It could be you.
Yeah, we're lucky. We're fortunate only due to the fact that we know that we could be in the same position, and we've got to do what we can for those that lost everything.
That's what it's about.
That's what neighborhoods are about. That's what community is about. That's what we're here for.
Community. You just said the magical word, community. That's what society is all about. But we're going to have a great show. The title of the show today is going to be Political Malpractice is Killing Our Country, and we can stop it. And subtitle, Let's Nip Political Malpractice in the Butt. Right?
That's right.
That's what we're going to do. But that one isn't one of the 7 words, right?
You're safe, Egberto. Don't you worry. I'll give you a really severe face right now.
Okay, good. I appreciate that. I won't tell you guys why I'm saying that, but that is a secret between myself and Shannon. But let's go further. Anyway, folks, it goes as follows. The flooding in Houston and surrounding areas continue. This did not have to be. It occurred because of a continuum of political malpractice that permeates our entire system. Worse, we allow it to happen, or we allowed it to happen. Why? Because many times we are not informed. We have a media that continues the old style of journalism. One side says this, the other side says that. That false type of objective journalism no longer works. We need to give the viewer all sides and also the objective realities, the objective analysis. We must be indifferent to politicians' claim that we are journalists, or that we or journalism is overstepping. Typo in the blog post, but I'll correct that when I get back. Before I get to the program, however, I want to remind all of our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are The Monitor with
Mark Babawi. That's every Monday at 7 p.m.
Then we have Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig, also on Mondays, but at 9 p.m.
And we have Partisan Gridlock with
None other than Jeff Berg, every Friday at 3 p.m.
And then there's Open Journal
with, well, Dwayne Bradley and the whole crew, Neil, and so many more. That's on Mondays now at 6 p.m.
And we have, Mondays.
Yep, only once a week.
Oh, for some reason I put on Fridays only. I got it messed up. So correct me again, Mondays at 5 p.m.
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Okay, got it. And we have Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its very best, hosted by
Juan Flores. Now that is on Tuesdays from 12 to 2.
Okay.
The world's changed, Egberto.
The world's changed in 2 weeks as well?
Yeah, that was when the schedule change happened.
Oh, okay.
Welcome back to Texas.
Oh, well, I was all over the
KPFT.
place and to KPFT. But you know what? Before I continue, I want to thank you for getting those 2 podcasts played the 2 times that we did it. That was great. Appreciate that.
Well, what's neat is that we're able to bring the people to these conferences that you're attending.
Yeah, so thank you.
And these voices that are around. Yeah, it's great.
Anyhow, folks.
Thank you for doing the legwork.
Yes, we have to do that and we have to keep doing that. But anyhow, folks, check out all our schedules at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is listener-supported public community radio station. So please remember that if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by the
corporatocracy.
Absolutely not. This is KPFT 90.1 FM Houston, Texas. We want to hear your voice. We want to hear your thought. Do follow hashtag politics done right. Twitter account, Egberto Willies. Folks, let me tell you something before I get to the blog of the week. I want to talk to you a bit. I want to tell you something. KPFT is the last real progressive radio station left in the eastern part of Texas, meaning and we go all the way out. Some people even tell me they can hear it in Beaumont, they can hear it in Galveston, they can hear it in Livingston, they can hear it in all these places, Northeast. Look, this is a must, especially in these times that we keep these stations alive. So if you will, and we're not in fund drive right now, but I tell you one thing that I will continue to do. I will continue to say, folks, keep these stations alive and don't wait for Fund Drive to be a part of the family. Go ahead and go to kpft.org and drop a dime. Go to kpft.org and be a part of the family. Join, be a member, because we don't want you never miss a lot of times until it is gone. So please, folks, support us, because that's what we need to happen. But folks, do you know what time it is? It's time for the weekly blog post. Okay, my good friends, my fellow Houstonians, my family, let me tell you something. And not only fellow Houstonians, we are listened to all over the darn place. All of you out there, some of this is Houston specific, not all of it. It's just some, but in its entirety, it covers the entire country. So please, folks, listen, critique, let me know what you think. I want to hear your point of view. So do remember, this is a call-in show at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. And here is the blog. It starts as follows. We give a lot of lip service about holding politicians accountable, but how often do we hold them to account? Rarely. If we treated political malpractice for the violent crime that it is, we would likely get much better public servants. Okay, I made a statement. Violent crime that it is. Some of you are going to say, hyperbole, Egberto. That is not a violent crime, to which I answer. A dead person know not which, how he died, she died, they died once dead. Okay? So when we do these things, when we hurt people, it doesn't matter. Hurt and killing, no matter how, is always violent. It may seem extreme to talk about prosecuting political malpractice, but ultimately, unless we do so, innocent people will continue to die. What is political malpractice? Look, it is above my pay grade to define it clearly. All I can say is you kind of know political malpractice when you see it. You know, it's like when they went to I don't remember what Supreme Court judge said. He said, I don't know what porn is, but when I see it, I know it. Okay? So, other people more schooled in policy can make it codifiable. I am just the mouthpiece on that particular issue, my friends. Look, the Hurricane Harvey flood in Houston is a classic example. Several years ago, I interviewed Jim Blackburn, Donna Hackmack Bryant, and Christina Walsh, three environmental activists and politically aware Houstonians who understood that absent action from the county, it was just a matter of time before the catastrophic flood causing loss of life and property would occur. That's what we had. To assume that Houston's flooding was not a known to those who should know is false. The ProPublica and Texas Tribune article, Boomtown, Flood Town, is probative. It's a great piece. I have a link to it. Go read it. And here's a snippet. More people die here than anywhere else from floods, said Sam Bodie, a Texas A&M University at Galveston researcher who specializes in natural hazard mitigation. More property per capita is lost here, and the problem's getting worse. Why? Scientists, other experts, and federal officials say Houston's explosive growth is largely to blame, as millions have flocked to the metropolitan area, regulations allowing developers to pave over crucial acres of prairie land that once absorbed huge amount of rainwater. That has led to an excess of flood water during storms that chokes the city's vast bayou networks, drainage systems, and two huge federally owned reservoirs, endangering many nearby homes, including Virginia Hammonds. On top of that, scientists say climate change is causing torrential rain to happen more often, meaning storms that used to be considered once-in-a-lifetime events are happening with greater frequency. Look, but it gets worse. It turns out that politicians were not only given a study. They weren't only given a study, people. They gave a solution. They gave a solution to the Barker and the Addicts reservoirs, something that would have worked, something that would have ensured that Memorial and all those houses and communities that border the Buffalo Bayou would not have been flooded. And here it goes. In a report dated May 1996, engineers for the Harris County Flood Control District concluded the area's reservoir system was severely insufficient and imperiled thousands of properties. The report's authors propose a $400 million fix, constructing a massive underground conduit that would carry water out of the reservoirs and into Houston's Ship Channel. Had the report's recommendation been heeded, the catastrophic flooding that struck Houston a week ago might have been greatly diminished, sparing thousands of homes from flood waters. Instead, the report got filed away and was all forgotten. Government leaders ignored its advice. So said the report. What is more disconcerting about ignoring the report is that construction on I-10, the Katy Freeway in the Houston metropolitan area, could have been leveraged to build the conduits beneath the new freeway. The freeway was under massive construction in those days, folks. It would have delayed some, but it would have saved Houston. It would have saved all the pains of the people going through what they're going through now. The solution was ever present. However, political malpractice killed every Texan directly or indirectly associated with these floods that did not have to occur. Hi, Lisa Smith from New Orleans. A drunk driver who gets into a fatal collision does not set out to kill anyone. A gun owner who drops his loaded gun in a crowded restaurant that kills a person had no intention of taking the life of anyone. The engineer who builds a structurally defective bridge that falls and kills many never intended said outcome. A doctor who makes a mistake that causes the death of a patient didn't do so on purpose. Every single one of those events is prosecutable as some sort of negligence and potentially manslaughter or even homicide. Look, one could wager that political malpractice kills much more people or many more people or however you want to say it. There is a difference, however. The politicians' effective political malpractice do so knowingly. If there are solutions that would have reasonably saved lives, but said solutions were not implemented because of corruption or because of dubious rationale, they deserve prosecution just like any citizen who unwittingly harmed someone. Every politician in the Houston metropolitan area who placed Houstonians at risk by allowing the construction of homes in neighborhoods that were sure to flood and who knew there were viable options to prevent the disaster should be prosecuted. Every Texas politician, and for that matter, everyone who voted against the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act should be prosecuted for causing the deaths of thousands of Texans and Americans. One could go on and on. Deaths caused by the decisions of politicians not based on what is right and doable, but on negligence or outright corruption. Read The Corrosive Nature of Money in Politics and the Negative Influence on Politicians. They all should be prosecuted. Why? Because they work for us. We put our faiths in them. They are the ones that have the data. They are the ones who hire those who provide them the information. They are the ones that are responsible. If the engineer is responsible, if the doctor is responsible, if the drunk driver is responsible, if all these other professions are responsible when they kill, then politicians must be responsible as well when they kill. Political malpractice likely kills more people than all murders in this country after all. Even some of the socio-economic realities that create a crime culture is a form of political malpractice. You go to the ghettos, the barrios and Appalachia, the conditions that these people live in, the conditions that was placed on these people because of our political process, because our politicians refuse to do what's necessary to make the Constitution, to support the welfare of all Americans, a reality. They are partially responsible for that as well. It's a big chain, folks. After all, even some of the socio-economic realities that create a crime culture is a form of political malpractice. We created societies because we understood that pooling our efforts, our diverse skills, make life better for all. It is a contract we signed implicitly. We signed a contract as a society saying, together we work, together we accomplish things. And we've assigned different work, different values to people. I mean, yes, it's done voluntarily, but it was assigned. But people also assigned themselves to be politicians because they wanted that responsibility. It is our responsibility to hold them responsible. It is a contract we've signed implicitly, folks. We have to start taking the power we have in ourselves to understand that we don't just allow others to walk on us. We just don't allow others to do things on a whim. We don't, a lot of these things aren't built not because these guys didn't have the money to do it, not because they couldn't do it, but it's because somebody was paid off. Somebody didn't want something done. That is what it's all about, and that is what we as American citizens, we as Houstonians, that is what we should mitigate. When that contract is broken, the perpetrators must be punished. the intent is not to criminalize politics at all. It is to ensure that politics is not criminal. Folks, the telephone number 713-526-5738. All lines are open, I believe. I know we had a network tear down or something. 713-526-5738. Now, while I wait for calls, again, this is our first live call in what now?
It's been a while, so you need to reassure them. This is live.
This is live, folks. I am here in the studio now, and I'm taking calls. 713-526-5738. Now, I want to talk about something else, though, because I was thinking this as I walked across, right? And it had to do with people saying, oh, well, don't blame all those politicians for not being able to build these things. Those things cost money, and they can't afford it. Houston can't afford these things. To that I say that is a false, an entirely false statement. If you go down any street in Houston, for that matter, if you go down any street in any one of our cities, if you go down any one of our highways, there's a lot of work to be done. There is a lot of work to be done. Yet, what have we seen here? Oh, the lines have lit up. So let's go to line number one. Line number one, I didn't.
Lauren.
Come on, Warren. Come on in. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm Lauren. It's nice to hear your voice.
It's nice to hear yours.
I am a student at the University of Houston downtown, and I plan on writing my research paper about these flooding issues.
Yes, ma'am.
I feel like your words are really speaking to my heart, and that you are making absolutely valid points. If I wanted more information on what you were saying, how could I acquire that information so me as a citizen can do more research to bring attention towards the politicians, working in this community?
Excellent question. I love the question. And first of all, let me tell you, I love crowdsourcing because together we learn much more than individually researching, right? I got a message on Facebook that said, hey, Berta, check out this article in the Dallas News.
Okay.
And when the article came, I said, wow, I did an interview with Jim Blackburn, who was also tackling this issue on flooding. So I looked up that article, and then that article referred me. I did a few other searches on these articles that talked about that study that they did in 1996, which said, why we should have built those tunnels under Interstate 10 and take it there. So here's the short answer. Go to my website at politicsdoneright.com.
Politics.right.com.
Yes,
okay.
and my show has the link to the blog of the week and other items there that talks about this as well. It'll point you to egbertowillies.com, which has this particular the particular story that I just wrote, and it has links in the piece that I just read.
Do you have a feeling that the port, is preventing the drainage system?
I don't, the truth is, I don't know, right? If I said I knew, I would be lying. But the truth of the matter...
What about access to blueprints of the drainage system throughout the entire city of Houston and surrounding areas? Is that information accessible?
I am pretty sure that you should be able to get those from the city. And the county. Now, I couldn't tell you exactly where, but look, when you write that paper, please be in touch with me because I'd love to carry that paper for you.
I work with Henry Rubicek, so I don't know if you know him. I think he comes in on the air sometimes.
Okay.
So I'm looking forward to this. You said politics.right.com.
Politicsdoneright.com. Okay?
Got it. I'll be there. Thank you.
You have a great day now. Okay, let's go to line number 2. I think that is Joe. Come on in, Joe.
Hey, Alberto, how are you today?
Talk to me, my brother. Talk to me.
Man, I got multiple issues here. First, I'm with you 110% about the political malpractice.
Yes, sir.
My judgment is a little harsher. I think we should start by building a gallows in Washington, D.C., and let's just start right there. We've been eating cake far too long, my friend.
Let me tell you. Let me just backstop you a little bit there. I'm a pacifist, so I never believe in killing. I never believe in hurting people. I believe in enlightening folks, and I think a lot of these people, if we sort of enlighten them, things would be better. By the way, hi, Kathleen Gallo from New York City. Anyway, yes, sir. Give me your second point.
I think they're beyond redemption, and I don't think there's any enlightenment you're going to be able to sign that way.
I hear you, my brother. I hear you. Talk to me. Yes.
Second, I didn't know about this pipeline from the west to the ship channel. That's
Yes.
an intriguing idea.
Yes.
And I know that directional drilling technology is very advanced these days. It's not a $500 million thing. It's a couple of $1 million, and we can drill a corridor to drain the west into the ship channel. It's doable.
Yes.
Right. It's just politics and crap and corruption that is. That stands in our way.
Let me tell you something, Joe. Okay, and this is important, and I try to tell people this all the time, right? And it goes as follows: we have to realize this. Look, you go around, look at every street around you, look at all your lakes, everything. There's a lot of work to be done. There are a lot of people that want work. There's a lot of people that want good paying jobs, right? Right. If for some reason under these conditions we are unable to give people work, right? Something is then wrong with our economic system. I mean, we
You're
could,
the middleman.
right, we could build canals. We could build all these things necessary to drain Houston, and not only that, to redirect our waters to places that need it. Mike Honig put out a little piece on, I saw it somewhere on Facebook where he said, why is it that we aren't trying to figure out how to take these places that, look, global warming is a real thing. Global warming has already occurred, and there are some changes that right now are probably irreversible. But we are at a solid state right now. I think there's a line one going. There's a solid state right now that we can take care of. Let's take care of where things are now and mitigate it. Let's start moving water west. Let's start there are a lot of things we can do if our economic system allowed us to do it. And if our economic system is not allowing us to do it, then we must change the economic system, because the work is there to be done. If the economic system can't do it, we change it. Don't you agree, Joe?
Yes, I do, and I want to find out where those obstacles are and call attention to it and get rid of those obstacles.
Let me give you one obstacle that your capitalist, your pure unadulterated capitalists will tell you. If we go ahead and open up these and start spending and opening up these jobs, they are talking about inflation going up, and the reason inflation is going to go up is because there's going to be too many dollars chasing too few resources. What they really mean is those people who loan you money will be getting back monies that is a little less valuable as inflation erodes. It is a little bit more complicated than that, but the reality is, like I've always stated, our economic system is flawed. If there's work to be done and we cannot get the work done, it means that the economic system is flawed, and we need to revisit how we build an economy. And that's where I'm at right now. Thank you.
I'm thinking that they want to make sure that the right people get the contracts to do the work.
And it's not only and also that the right people are always on top.
Right.
Are always on top.
Lastly,
yes, sir.
We can move on. I was under the impression that the Army Corps of Engineers there was some coordination at that level with the operation of these dams.
Yes, there was. Yes.
But that apparently with the San Jacinto River Authority, the guy that basically wiped out Kingwood,
right.
he kept the spillways at Conroe closed until the lake was full, and then he had to open them 110% and just blow away.
That is what people in Kingwood are talking about, suing the San Jacinto River Authority for that specific reason. Look, I knew at that point the guy had to open the gates, but the question is, why wasn't it done before? I have a neighbor who who said they were too concerned about making sure that they didn't release too much water so that in case the rain didn't come, the recreation would still be there. So we flooded Kingwood for that, For all those folks in Kingwood who thought, well, we have these.
Breaking just a moment.
Okay, we have these special things here. Well, that shows you how special it is. I guess Woodlands are... No, I'm kidding. I just had to put that out there. But anyhow...
Well, that guy was an appointee. I mean, he was a political appointee.
Yes.
That lets the chips fall where they may. Frankly, we may have to build a little guillotine up there in Conroe.
Okay, I am done with that, Joe. Remember, we're pacifists here, man. Good pacifists. We don't take crap from anybody, but we're good pacifists. All right, you have a good one, my friend. Thanks for calling. I got to go to a break, but every single person that's called, you will be on. So stay with me.
Thank you, Egberto, and good afternoon. It is currently 83 and sunny skies. Clear tonight with a low around 64. Enjoy this low humidity. Sunny skies Friday with a high near 64. And there's river flood warnings that remain in effect for Brazoria County. San Bernard there's a river flood warning until tomorrow afternoon, and flood warning for Brazoria County along the Brazos. And high water in a few areas around town. Still on the Katy Freeway outbound at Eldridge, there's still flooding on that right lane in all frontage road lanes in both directions. Traffic's backed up to Beltway 8, and crews are pumping flood water from the West Sam Houston Tollway, which is closed between the Katy Freeway and Richmond due to flooding at several points within that closed region. It is predicted to open back up early next week, but that is an optimistic prediction. And Highway 6 remains closed and impassable between Richmond and Clay due to high water over the roadway. On the North Freeway inbound at Memorial, the exit ramp is still closed due to high water. That's backing up traffic over to Telephone. And heavy traffic in a few areas around town, including on that Southwest Freeway inbound from Bel Air over to 45. That should take you about 42 minutes to travel between the West Sam Houston Tollway and downtown, but that's not including the time it's going to take you to get onto the freeway. And on the Katy Freeway inbound from Blaylock to the West Loop, it is stop and go, and from Washington over to 45, it's going to take you a while. Slow going on the North Freeway inbound from Little York over to Scott. That's a look at your Houston area weather and traffic. I'm Shannon McCurchie, and you're listening to KPFT Houston 90.1. Back to you, Egberto.
Muchas gracias. Okay, let's go to Jennifer, line number 3. Come on in, Jennifer. Line number 3. Jennifer, are you there? Okay, let's go to Jennifer. One more shot. Okay, are you there? Okay, let's go to line number 4.
45.
Okay.
Take you a while.
All right. Who are we with now?
Inbound from Little York over to Scott.
Frank.
Frank, you're on.
Bring him off.
I'm Shannon McCurdy.
Okay, Frank, you're on.
90.1.
Okay, let's see. Let's put Frank on hold again.
Go to Jennifer.
Oh, okay. Frank was just back there again. So let's go back to Frank. Okay, Frank, come on in. Turn your radio down, Frank.
45.
Okay.
Please tell him again.
All right.
Yeah, turn your radio down, Frank. Okay, we're
Let's
back
go to
on.
someone else.
Okay. All right, let's go to line number 6 with Michael. Frank, we're going to be back with you as soon as your radio is down. Come on in, Michael.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, I don't know how it exactly works, but if you could also drive down most parts of Houston, and there's a lot of money here going to nonsense, if you ask me.
Frank is there now.
Yeah.
Did you know they're putting a train, they're tearing up a fine street, they're putting a train in front of the Galleria that we don't need, that I don't think nobody's going to use.
Okay.
Did you know that? I don't think most of Houston even knows that.
Well, I didn't know that a train was going into the Galleria. But, you know, look, let me tell you, these people, a lot of times these politicians take care of a select group of people,
Yes,
right?
sir. You can say that again.
You know what? Again, the Galleria is a money place, and it's going to be great taking folks from the medical center to the Galleria, from the Galleria to downtown. All those things are great, but for the vast majority of Houstonians, that money does absolutely nothing. But you know what? The only thing that solves that problem is for, and you know, I know we say this ad nauseum, but it's for people to go out there and vote. Because you have to vote your interests. And what we have is a group of, what we have are politicians who say, well, these people don't vote, so we listen to our lobbyists. Now, if you used to vote, or if most of us went out there and vote, our will, those things would be taken care of. Look,
I see.
stadiums are paid for, stadiums, or rather, teams are owned by very rich billionaires, but somehow we pay for the stadiums?
Yes, sir.
You know, so you're absolutely right, Michael. Now,
That's funny you said that, because that was my next point. I had heard that there was a rumor. I mean, I know it's rumor or talk that there was going to put another stadium that we don't need here in Houston. We need to fix the streets and the trains and the bridges.
Look, I drive through Houston a lot, especially now that I'm working with some other local groups. And I'll be frank, I didn't realize that the streets in Houston were as bad as they are.
Yes, sir. I promise you they are.
You know, because, you know, you go into the suburbs, and the streets are great. You know, they are concrete, and they're fine. You come out into Midtown Houston and all these areas, there are potholes and you damage your car. So
I buy tires a few times a year because of it.
there you go. So anyhow, but folks, the answer to that question is, or rather, the solution to all of this is that you have to go out and vote. You have to hold your politicians accountable. You have to watch your politicians because you have to make sure it's not a money machine for those guys. That's what it's all about. So thank you very much for calling in, Michael. You have a wonderful day, okay?
You too.
Okay, let's go back to Frank at line number 5, I think? Or 4. How you doing, Frank?
Okay, yourself?
Great. I'm sorry for the little mishap.
Your show.
Let me tell you something, Frank, before you start.
I've been noticing over the years that as far as the governorship and the presidency and the senators and House of Representatives, now that may be different as far as, very local politics, but as long as money supports the politicians, as long as the rules allow for unlimited money to be funneled into these election campaigns, I'm so cynical about it. I mean, I've participated in the Vietnam, protests and various marches, and even when Bush was about to invade, we had a lot of demonstrations for that. But I noticed that all the laws, the politicians couldn't do anything on civil rights, for example, until you almost make the nation wouldn't work anymore. In other words, enough people got on the streets and disrupted enough stuff. Same thing with Vietnam. I mean, the colleges got disruptive, and of course, Kent State was a classic example of how that until we almost make the society that we have unfunctionable. I guess I'm too cynical, but I don't see hardly there's any hope because if there was any hope for Barack Obama, that was dispelled very quickly.
Frank.
He really didn't do anything. We know this.
Frank.
And the Democratic Party, of course, it's lost all credibility. The one chance that they had of winning the election with Bernie, they torpedoed that. And so, I mean, where do you go? I mean, you have nothing as far as the political system goes. It's totally corrupt. It's totally bought and paid for by the corporation. So I hate to be cynical, but until things get so much worse and people are hungry and we start disrupting society, I really wish there was another way, but I haven't seen anything work.
Great,
I've
Frank.
seen it get worse for the last. I'm 80 years old.
I
keep seeing it getting worse and worse and worse, and everybody has got some great thoughts and great scholars like yourself and others who are preaching the right thing, but does it happen? No. Even Barack Obama, it got worse under him in many ways.
Frank,
So
you need to stop for a second.
Do? That's my question.
Yeah, okay.
It really makes society unworkable, and until the rich people can't relax with their money, I don't see how it's going to change. But maybe you can convince me otherwise.
Okay,
I
Frank.
hope you can.
Frank, can you hear me, Frank?
All of us.
Frank, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Frank, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, let me just say one thing for protocol here. When you're talking, apparently are you on a Skype call or one of those machines? Because apparently when I'm talking to try to interrupt you, you can't, you don't hear me. So.
It's just cell phone. But go ahead. I'm through. I made my point.
Okay, great.
I want to hear what you got to say.
First of all, I understand exactly how you feel. I understand your cynicism. The only solution to cynicism is activism. Okay? And you answered your own question. You said when things got rough enough during the Vietnam period, when things got rough enough during the Civil War, the Civil Rights Movement, when things got to the point where the plutocracy had to act, they acted. And what I'm telling you is don't be cynical. Activate. You're 80 years old. First of all, I want to say thank you for being here at 80 years old. Thank you for doing what you're doing at 80 years old. But what we need to do further is as follows. You probably can't be out there in the streets with us when we're in the streets. You probably can't be always behind a computer or a phone bank or whatever. But for those that are listening here, all of you can. All of you can do something to participate. Find an indivisible group. Find an Aura Revolution group. Find a Pantsuit Republic group. Find one of many groups that are here, right here in Houston and throughout the country to be a part of. 2018, if we are activated, we can make a progressive bonanza in 2018, but you can't be cynical. My brother here that's talking to me, Frank, cynicism, I understand your cynicism. Your cynicism, let's not put it on a politician, let's put it on us. And if we put it on us, that means we can go ahead and change it and go activate. Thank you very much for calling, Frank.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
You have a great day. Okay, let's go to line number 1 for Mike Flood.
Hey, Mike.
Well, he wants to talk about the flood.
Good afternoon.
Hey, how you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. All right, let me ask you.
Yes.
Okay, we've seen what has happened out in Cinco Ranch
Yes.
and out in the outskirts of 99, Highway 6 on down.
Right.
Out.
Yes.
Okay, you know, they're fixing to put some new development on the other side of I-10
Yes.
off of 99. Where do you think all that water's going to go to?
So it's coming right down into the Barker. That one is going into the Barker Reservoir. The other one is into the Addicts Reservoir.
Yeah, but
Yes.
but what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to bunker all that water somewhere else because
Yes.
they're going to have development over there.
But here's
After they get to putting in some reservoirs over there, they're going to release it. Where's it going to go to? Right back down into Houston. So we're going to
Yes.
see the same problem that we have in Houston and up in Cinco Ranch and all that. Now on the other side of I-10,
Yes.
where they didn't have any problems until they built up Highway 99.
Right. Now, you know, you make a very good point. Okay, and if you notice, a lot of these new subdivisions are west, or they are west of the reservoir, right?
Right.
And not only are they west of the reservoir, some of them seem to be built within the reservoir. So the truth of the matter is, you're right. Right now, what they're doing is, they're building these retention ponds. But these retention ponds are only good until they're filled, right? And you get one incident and it's filled up and it drains. They're already in the reservoir, so it's not draining. It's just increasing in height. And increase in height means it goes into the homes. And yes, what it means is it creates a very different, it creates a problem all the way down to Memorial. It presents a problem to Spring Branch. All these areas now are going to be flood prone. And there are controls, right? We could... The first control is you shouldn't be building out there. Increase the density. One can increase the density of Houston instead of building all these mansions around town that don't belong in a terrain like we have. But that requires regulation. And guess who hates regulations? Guess who hates controls?
Oh, yeah. Everybody.
There we go. So anyhow, let me tell you what, again, you're going to have to vote on these issues, folks. That's what it's going to take. When these developers pay off politicians, we are going to have to expose them because we know those things shouldn't be there. Thank you so kindly for calling.
Mike, one more question.
Yes, sir.
Okay, you know the Barker and Cypress Reservoir.
Yes.
You know, there's really nothing they can do with those things. And, of course, they've already missed their opportunity to build that drainage along I-10. The only thing they're going to be able to do is to dredge all those things and make them deeper.
I don't even think that'll work, right? Because what happens is if you're dredging deeper, what it means is you're going to fall below sea level, right? So, I mean, and once you fall below sea levels, you're just a bunch of water that's staying there permanently. So, I mean, that is a severe issue that has to be looked into. I think, if I'm not mistaken, the highest point of Houston is, 50 feet or something like that?
Something like that, or maybe just a little bit lower.
Right. So, I mean, you keep talking about digging deeper. That's not the solution. But my solution, however, my thoughts are, you just said that the solution is already passed. No, it's not. The reality is there are a lot of people looking for work in Houston, and there's a lot of canals we can build to take care of that. Those conduits that weren't placed under I-10 can be placed elsewhere. And that's what we have to work on. We have to start telling people, stop having us work for the economy and start having the economy work for us. Let's employ people and figure out how to build an economy that satisfies the work that needs to be done. Not have the work fit the economy that was designed by some old man several hundred years ago, but let's change the economy in such a manner that it sustains the work that needs to be done today. Thank you very much for your call, sir.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you so much. You take care.
You have a great day. Okay, let's go to line number 4 for FEA. Line number 4, FE.
I think I actually put PK on.
PK.
Okay,
that's my mistake.
I just want to say one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, when I found out that you are older than you look, that means that you're closer to my age.
Yes.
I thought maybe we have different aspects of how we see things, but I think it's a big thing right now, Egberto, is that we have to all hold each other accountable.
Yes.
And in doing so, it's more important to act locally and think,
nationally, so to speak.
PK, can you turn it down? There's something behind you that's kind of coming over, and we're not being able to understand you completely.
Okay, is that better?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Okay, all right. All I'm saying is that locally,
yes,
our local government is where we have to fight. We have no zoning laws.
Right.
Everybody can build when and where they want to.
Right.
There can be a building that says that you have a view of downtown, and then somebody can come and build another building, and there goes your view that you paid for.
Right.
There has to be some accountability, but not after the storm.
Right.
Before there's a storm.
Well,
so now is the opportunity. I mean, I would rather build canals than a wall from Mexico.
Thank you.
And what our value system is, no matter whether or not we're talking about locally corporations, or we're talking about locally city governments, or we're talking about our state government, this is where the fight is. And people have to have the best integrity and ethics that are doing things. And when they find out that they don't, you're right, they need to vote them out. But we've got to have somebody to replace them. And we just seem to be replacing them with somebody worse.
You know what?
So that's my 2 cents for today.
I want to, before you go, PK, I want to add another 2 cents to that. First of all, I want it to be deeper than just saying we vote them out, right? Because
there's no replacement.
But it's not only about replacement. It's about some of these people, I consider them criminals. And I don't mean criminals, political criminals. I mean criminals that kill people. And I mean, I know it's radical, but what I'm saying is politicians are the ones that have the data. Politicians are the ones who effect policy. And if they effect policies that kill, just like, I don't know if you heard my blog of the week earlier, but I mean, but you know, just like we hold a drunk driver accountable even though he didn't mean to kill, an engineer accountable for a bridge that falls even though he didn't mean to kill, a politician that kills just like they did should be held accountable. I think if we held politicians not only accountable by voting them out, but accountable legally, then we will get better support. But thank you very much for calling, PK. Wonderful statement. All right, let's go to line number... I am kind of lost with these names. So folks, we had some problems with our phone system. Let's go to line number 4. And FEA.
Tell him to turn down his radio.
Okay. Could you turn down your radio, sir?
Be held accountable.
Sir? Could you turn your radio down? Okay, come on. And what's your name, sir? Steve, talk to me.
You know, I've been in this town 70 years, with the exception of time I went off college and went off to the office.
Yes, sir.
And I remember when Houston had a population of 400,000.
Yes, sir. Okay.
But let me make my point. All out there, Barker, Cypress, the Reservoir Addicts, and all that there, back in the 50s. My grandfather, my daddy, myself, and my uncle, we used to go duck hunting out there.
Right.
You do know what the word floodplains means, right?
Yes, sir. Absolutely, that it floods.
Now, when you get a chance, I want you to Google Houston flood of 1929.
I saw it. Rachel Maddow had a good piece on that a few days ago.
And then after you do Houston flood of 1929, do Houston flood of 1935.
Saw that as well.
Now, let me make my point. My grandfather, may he rest in peace, born 1898. 1935, of course, he died in 1988. But all them storms and stuff we had in 1970 back in the 80s, he said that was nothing compared to 35. The port of Houston, where my Uncle Paul worked out, you know how long that port was closed in 35?
Don't know.
From the damage and destruction for 8 months.
Right.
All right? Now, I'm saying that to say this. All of these folks who built them $500,000 homes out there in them floodplains where we used to go hunting, and there was a reason there was nothing out there.
Right.
There are certain areas in this town, and I know that doesn't make people feel any better who got water in their house. The houses should have never been there to begin with.
Right. I mean, I think we've been saying that for the quite a bit of the show. You're absolutely right, my friend.
Okay, but let me go make my real point.
Okay.
Those dams, those reservoirs are 70 years old.
Yes.
They are structurally deficient.
Right.
If they don't release the water and put 4 feet of water in your house out there, those dams will break, and instead of having 40,000 people in shelters, we'll have 500,000 people in shelters. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm with you with what you're saying. What the purpose of this show, however, is we shouldn't be in this in this particular position, and
break in a second.
And we covered both of those issues that you're talking about, which is absolutely correct. One is we should be building inside of those flood prone areas. Number one, and number two, as far as these dams are concerned, they need to be mitigated. We need to get it better. But Shannon is telling me that I have to break, my friend. So please keep listening. Please keep calling. And we're going to be continuing this as we go along. Okay, my friend?
Certainly.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right, good afternoon. It is currently 83 degrees and beautiful sunny skies. Enjoy this low humidity because it actually feels the same temperature that it is. Yeehaw.
Yeehaw.
All right, clear tonight with a low around 64 and sunny skies for Friday with a high near, that high for tomorrow is going to be 87 degrees. And there's still that river flood warning remains in effect for Buffalo Bayou, which is 3/4 of a foot over the top of its bank over in certain areas around town. And on the San Bernard River, there's still that river flood warning through tomorrow, and still a flood warning for Brazoria County along the Brazos. Addicks Dam is a little over half a foot over the top of its spillway, so it's still causing a bit of trouble. High water on the Katy Freeway outbound at Eldridge, flooding the right lane and all frontage road lanes in both directions. Traffic is backed up now to Blaylock. And crews, as you know, are continue to pump flood water from the West Sam Houston Tollway, which is closed between the Katy Freeway and Richmond due to flooding in some of those areas in between that region. And it's predicted to open back up early next week. Highway 6 remains closed and impassable between Briar Forest and Memorial, and from the Katy Freeway up to Clay due to high water over the roadway. And let's take a brief look at our roadways. Still flooding on the North Freeway outbound at Memorial. That exit ramp is closed due to floodwater. Heavy traffic in a number of areas around town, as we all know too well, including on the Southwest Freeway outbound from Whitman all the way to the West Park Tollway. And that West Park Tollway is backed up in between 59 all the way out to Highway 6. And on the Southwest Freeway inbound, it's a headache from around Bel Air all the way to 45. So please take additional time because you really are going to need that. And quite backed up on the West Loop in both directions from Evergreen up to all the way over to Irvington. And little tapping on those brakes on the Northwest Freeway inbound from Fairbanks, North Houston over to West 34th. That's look at your Houston area weather and traffic. I'm Shannon McCurchie, and you're listening to KPFT Houston 90.1. Back to you, Egberto.
Muchísimas gracias. Folks, we're going to have to do these quick now, so you got about 40 seconds to make your point. Let's go to line number 2. Come on in, Joe.
Hey.
Yes, sir.
You're absolutely right. They didn't put the drains under Highway 10 because they saw this as a future opportunity. Disaster comes, we got more work to do. Fossil fuels is on its way out. What are we going to do? And I tell you that because this happened in Big Bend, the Trans-Pecos pipeline, they put through some of the most pristine area down there, and they're fracking 350,000 acres of land around Balmorea, using the water from these aquifers that can't be replaced.
Exactly.
And the attitude is, well, the future will clean up the water and charge everybody up there. Well, it's not going to happen.
No, it's not.
A lot of people are going to die because of that.
You know, I fly over on my way to California or Portland or all these places and see all those wells out there in the middle of nowhere. Just thinking, these people think that distance is going to make a big difference as far as the pollution that's occurring. It's not. Eventually, it all permeates. But look, thank you Did anything quickly that you need to add to that, Joe?
Yeah, and that oil and that Trans-Pecos pipeline goes through Mexico off to the West Coast where they're going to build LNG plants and send it out to China and Japan right now.
Not for us. Thank you very much for your call, Joe.
Bye.
All right, let's go to Johnny, line number 1. Come on in, Johnny.
You remember Schoolhouse Rocks on, I think, ABC Morning, Saturday morning TV?
Yes.
They used to explain how the government works, how bills created and how it's brought into being.
Yes, sir.
That's the kind of thing that we need to have on KPFT, and I think your show would be the leader in that. What you can do is evolve your show now, since you have a full hour, the first 20 or 30 minutes be like a Schoolhouse Rock type explanation of civics, basic civics, because that earlier caller, the one that was really frustrated, remember him?
Yes, I remember.
He is the reason why we need that. It's the frustration level, and part of the way you address the frustration level is you bring people with the knowledge that they need to make those changes.
Johnny,
because they feel sterilized right now.
Johnny, I gotta go, but you know something? I am going to take you up on that. I'm going to put a little segment in there. I'm going to have to figure out how to prep it, but I love that idea. I love that idea.
You don't have to redo the start of your program.
No, I know. What I'm saying, I understand, but
now all you have to do is actually activate it.
Right, I love that idea.
Get guest speakers to join you.
Okay, Johnny, I got to throw you off because I got somebody else coming, but that was a great idea, brother.
Okay.
All right, let's go. Line number 3. MOD, you got exactly 35 seconds. Come on in.
I'll take a deep breath and it's over.
Talk to me.
I mentioned to Mike the other night in 1927.
Yes.
They blew levees because they were worried about New Orleans getting flooded.
Right.
And Hoover was there on the dam edge, and so they did it again in 2005. It was a committee hearing. The same 3 levees that were breached.
Right.
In 1927 were the same spots where Katrina breached.
Right. I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
Opinion, that's just a fact.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Just think about that should be a good use case reference. And when you don't have regulation, and it's not just developers, it's the county, the Corps engineer, building like y'all been talking about, in rice fields.
Yes.
20 seconds.
But
you got 10 seconds.
Be a good use case model for what we're talking about, and it's not even mentioned.
Look,
all right.
Thank you very much, MOD, for your call. And you keep listening, keep calling, keep telling folks about KPFT. You have a wonderful day. Folks, this is KPFT 90.1 FM. This is Egberto Willies with Politics Done Right. Thank you so kindly for spending this time with me. And we are out.
Thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. You can personally reach me by sending an email to egberto@politicsdoneright.com. Remember, Egberto is spelled E-G-B-E-R-T-O. Change starts with you. 90.1 KPFT gives you information not tainted by corporate interest. Please visit kpft.org and contribute. Let's ensure continued access to real information and news remain available to all. Again, thank you very much for listening to Politics Done Right.